my goal is not to teach you all of the science terms and everything. My goal is to make you understand the things that people go through when they have different conditions.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the Spark Buddies podcast. I'm your host, Esther. Today, I will be speaking with Netra, whose podcast Tumor Minutes is ranked top 10 in Canada's life sciences category. On her podcast, she educates her audience on various medical conditions, with a focus on cancer. For example, her first episode was a 3-minute primer on how cancer begins, spreads, and why it's so hard to treat. In another episode, she explained how MRIs work and the experience of undergoing one. And in her latest episode, which is part of season 2 in her podcast, she talks about the science behind Down syndrome. So Netra, could you please tell us a little bit about yourself, for example, your age, where you live, and of course, the name of your podcast?
Of course. That was a great introduction, Esther. So my I'm Netra. I'm in grade 11, and I live in a city called Mississauga in Canada. And I started my podcast honestly because I, when I got diagnosed with all of my problems, and I have a lot of them, when I first got diagnosed, I fell in through a rabbit hole of information, and I just didn't know which a site to believe and what to do when I got that information. So I thought that for someone who's going through the same things that I went, I could provide them with a with help so that they know what it's like from someone who's been through it. Yeah,
That's amazing. So you're taking information, your own research and experiences to share it with other people who might not have access to that.
exactly.
Where can we listen to your podcast, and typically how long is an episode?
My podcast is available on quite a few platforms. If you, you can find me on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, Audible, Amazon Audible. You can find me on fireside.fm. And most of these episodes range from like 9 to 12 minutes. So very short, but very informational is what I keep it as.
And do you invite anybody on your podcast, or do you just speak about yourself alone?
As of right now, I don't have anyone on my podcast. I'm still trying to build my podcast up to the point where like a lot of people know about it, but I'm definitely hoping I do get a lot of like of medical professionals and so out. Yeah.
So let's deep dive a little bit into, I'd say, the format of an episode. So what do you talk about typically in an episode? And is it more scientific or more personal?
So I my episodes usually start with like a quick introduction, um and then I introduce the topic that we're going to talk about, and then I mention all of the like controversies around certain topics, what it's about, and basically I just try to keep it very simple and understandable, and kind of not like you're reading a textbook that makes you want to sleep.
What were the first steps you took to turn this idea into a product, into a podcast?
Um, Honestly, when I thought of this, I didn't think I was going to make a podcast. I thought that like a newsletter or something like that would be what I was going to go for. But a lot of people told me that I was better off as a speaker, and that it would be more efficient if I were to say my ideas out. And and then it just evolved into making a podcast.
No, you for sure are a great speaker. I can tell. And what tools were most helpful in starting your podcast? Do you have any recording tools that you use, editing tools, anything like that?
So my I usually research all the topics that I want to cover, and I usually use that on like PubMed and all the credible scientific sources. And then obviously I write down all of my information on like say Google Docs. And when I'm editing and everything, I used Riverside. Um, so and yeah, I mostly record everything on my laptop and iPhone. So
And for the information that you use to get on your podcast, do you have any medical advisors, for example?
um no, I do not. I do a lot of literature review for basically everything that I do. So I do make sure all of my sources are credible.
Yeah, that's great. How did you initially market your podcast? Because having a look, I saw it was available on numerous platforms. How did you manage to get to that level, and how did you market?
So I found this really good website called Fireside, where you could put your um, MP3 recording and all of the information about the episode or so that you were going to publish, and it would send out this like feed to um, all the other websites like Spotify and so on, and and then it just got out there. And how I got people to listen is that I created an like an Instagram profile where I shared all of like the upcoming episodes about what's happening in um the making of the podcast and so on and so forth.
What's your Instagram account's name?
It's tumor_minutes.
Okay, perfect. So you used Fireside and that helped you publish it onto numerous platforms?
Yeah.
Okay. And how do you manage the business aspects of your podcast? Like, do you make any revenue from it? And if so, do you have a team that handles financials or a team that handles editing, or is it just yourself?
Right now it's a nonprofit, so I don't get any money or anything. And I'm okay with that for now, but obviously I'm hoping it gets to a point where I can start earning from it.
How would you say you'd start earning from a podcast?
Honestly, I'm just hoping to get this out into the world so that people can actually find it useful. And we'll go from there, I guess. I'm a very just let the road take you where it takes you.
So we talked about how you also reached top 10 in the life sciences category. Do you want to talk a bit about your journey and how you got to that milestone?
Yeah, so actually I received that news quite not a long time ago. I published about 5 or so episodes when I got notified that I was number 22 in all of Canada for life sciences podcasts. And um and I think a lot of that was just the fact that I was marketing my podcast so much, and I had some other people also marketing the podcast so much. And I think it just got to a point where a lot of other um, people who I didn't know started listening to it, and they probably found it useful and they recommended it to others, and it just went on, and somehow I reached number 10.
That's amazing. So you said, I got notified. Who notified you?
I received an email from I think it was I don't remember the source, but I received an email with a link that showed me all the podcasts in Canada under the life sciences category, and I just searched my um, podcast up, and there it was, number 22 at first, and then I kept following it, and it reached number 10.
So what I'm taking away is heavy marketing and just really pushing yourself out there. Now that we looked at all the positives and the milestones, what were some of the biggest challenges you faced when starting your business or up till now?
I think for me the biggest challenge was I don't have the equipment that a lot of professional podcasters have. So That definitely sets me back a little bit, but, other than that, I have a lot of I'm not I'm not like a, um, someone who has a PhD or something in these topics, so nobody's gonna really, like, trust me based on, my episodes because they don't know who I actually am. So I think that was a big challenge is getting people to understand that I'm actually someone who's been through all of these challenges and is offering a new perspective into all of these new categories, challenges that are in life.
Yeah. So instead of taking, you said it was researched also, but I think what's special about your podcast is how you also speak personally. And
Mhm.
that's also, yeah, a perspective we don't get much on medical podcasts. And now it's going to be a bit more about, I guess, your experience as an entrepreneur in general. What's one big lesson that you learned throughout your journey?
I learned that it's okay to fail because the first few episodes, they did not go where I wanted them to go. They did not reach the amount of listeners that I wanted to get. But as I kept marketing and as I kept pushing everyone to start listening, it just started again growing more and more. And yeah, I got to the point where so many people were listening, I couldn't keep track of who was listening.
That's great. So honestly, failure is the key to success, where you learn.
Yeah.
And you mentioned you were a junior, right? Where do you see 2 more minutes going in the future? Are you going to hand it off to somebody or do you plan on continuing it?
I plan on continuing my podcast because I don't think anyone has had the experiences that I've had with all of these challenges that I've been through. So I definitely want to continue the podcast because I want anyone else who has any of these problems in their life to know that it's perfectly okay and that the world is not going to end and that you have someone who understands what it's like.
You also said that you were going to start a new season focused on neurodivergent conditions. Why do you want to start this new season? And then because it's so new also, if you planned on handing that down, but I think we answered that. So.
Um, actually, so my podcast started off as just about cancer, and at one point it strayed away from the topic that I wanted to really talk about, which was the brain. It started off talking about tumors, brain tumors, and cancer, and at one point I just didn't focus on the brain part. So I thought, why don't we just make a new season just about the brain and how certain people with those divergences deal with what we see as ordinary.
And there's so many podcasts also. So about the brain, about cancer, and medical podcasts. What would you say is the one factor that differentiates you from all the other podcasts, and how did you find that factor?
Um, I think the thing that makes me a little bit different is that I don't go very science heavy. I go very understandable. My goal is not to teach you all of the science terms and everything. My goal is to make you understand the things that people go through when they have different conditions. And if if using those big scientific terms is not it, then then so be it. I'm willing to keep it very simple and understandable. That's honestly all I really want.
For sure. So, thank you so much for answering my general questions. So, what I'm taking away from your journey is that you have to persevere, but also add that personal touch to whatever you're doing to be able to connect with the audience.
I would say so.
For a bit of a more complicated question to wrap it up, what's one piece of advice you would give to other entrepreneurs who would want to start a business or a podcast?
I would say that there are a lot of ups and downs and a lot of challenges and obstacles that are going to come your way. And If you think that if at any point you think that you're not going to be able to make it, shove that thought out of your head because the one thing I've learned from making my podcast and everything is that it doesn't matter how slow things are, but you keep improving by at least 1% every single day. So keep persevering and you'll get to what you want, or maybe even better.
Thank you so much for coming on. I definitely learned a lot, especially as a new podcaster. It was really helpful to know all of these tips and tricks.
It was good being here. Thank you.